Sanitarium in Clifton Springs, New York. And this is my birth certificate from my father, William E. Ettinger, and Mary K. Gallagher, my mother. The first place I lived was at 66 State Street, between where Jack Keating lives now and Scotchy Henry lives on the other side. Jimmy Minnett's daughter lives in there now. Now this picture is taken over behind the house where Mabel Crino now lives. This is Bill and Catherine Van Gorder. She was a Catherine Coyne. She was a relative of my grandmother Gallagher's. Somehow. I am not sure. Now, we spent a lot of time there, and this is the smallest picture I have of myself. I look like I have blonde hair, and I'm sitting in Bill Van Gorder's lap, and that's my brother Clyde sitting down in front of Catherine. Now, when my mother first came to Manchester, she stayed with this couple because it was a relative. Times were tough in Pennsylvania, and she got a job working as a clerk over on the Lehigh Valley. And since she lived right next door to my grandmother and my father, that's how they happened to meet, and that's how my father happened to marry up with Mary Gallagher. Now, I lived at this house, I lived at 66 State Street until 1926, till I was 2 years of age. And from there, we moved out on the farm in the country. Picture behind Bill and Catherine Van Gorder's house. This is Catherine in a grape arbor right behind the house. And down on the ground is me. Now, I'm very big, am I? I'm not a very big kid there. That's me sitting there on the ground. Now, this is a far cry from the house that my father bought in 1926. It was in terrible shape. They had to do a lot of work with it. And the garage in that house, the garage behind the house, was originally over on the south side of the house here. On the east side of the house where those lilac bushes are, that garage sat. And it was really a kitchen. Because when Ruth Fish parents lived there, Andy Ryan got married while he lived in there, and they lived in that side of the house, and that was their kitchen. That garage sitting over there was over where these lilac bushes, and that was a kitchen. Now the Ryan family lived in there before World War I. Now we enlarge the picture a little bit to show the barns out back had berries. It sure didn't look like that when my father got it. It was 30 acres of land, and he bought it on a courthouse steps at a public auction where they were closing it down for taxes. The man put a lot of work into this place. And this is where I started in 1926. This is the house, of course at a later date. My father had put a lot of work in on it, but this is the house that I was raised in. It used to have a big pine tree in front of the house, and during the war, my father cut it down. Now, until 1936, this house had no electricity, so lamps outside John, well water in a pail, and a dipper was the ordinary things of the day. We had kerosene lamps, and we had a coal furnace, but it could get pretty cold in that house. And of course, with no electricity, we had no refrigerators, and the washing machine had to be done by hand. And I'm not complaining, but that's the way it was in those days. Now, my first 4 years of school was spent in District Number 10 on the corner of Stafford and Hackett Road, down near Ed DeBrock's. Now, up in the far right is my brother Clyde with his bib overalls and tie. And then here am I with my bib overalls and tie. I went to this school until the 4th grade, through the 4th grade, from 1 through 4. Now, also in this picture, the second one in from the left is my future bride, Helen. We went to school together. We were in the same class. Now, this is in 1931 in District Number 10. And the teacher on the far left was Florence Green, Ed DeBrock's wife, sister. While I'm at it in this picture, we might as well go across. The teacher was Florence Green. The one that started from the left was Florence Green, Stacy Goodall, Floyd Colder, Marion Henry, Marion Fish, and the big one up in the back was Sam Rush, and then come Eva Tyler, and then come Bob Brophy. Bob Brophy lived where Marion and Donnie lives right now. And then was Evelyn Ryan. That is Raymond Ryan's daughter. And then my brother Clyde. Now in the next row was Raymond Ryan's son Dick, Helen, Albert Rush, Sam's brother in the back, Russell Rush, he was another brother, and this one here is Marion Brophy. She's Frances Brophy's sister. She's Marion Romiser now. She works up with Frances in the eggs. And of course, then comes yours truly. And this one here is Millie Fish. Believe it or not. Now we go over and get into the front row. This one here is another Rush boy, Vernon Rush. And then come my neighbor, Fritzie Albright. He lived in a brick house at that time, right across the street from the farmhouse. The dog, he looks like the brightest one in the picture. And then come Frances Brophy. Francis was the Eggman. Is the Eggman that you see up there today. And this one here is Ernest Brophy. He's another brother. He's a brother of Francis and Marion. So that is my school, number 10 school in 1931. 1940, in my junior year, this is a picture of me in my class picture. And on my left is Spider Cottrell, which you know well. In the center of this picture, with the medal around her neck, is Helen. We were both juniors, and this is in the year 1940. Next to her is Steve Chunko and Dottie B. Mint's husband, Bunny Steve died in World War II, and Bunny died early. In 1941, we were seniors. We graduated that year. And the senior class officers you see here, myself and Doug Daly. We look real cute. This is myself, and I was senior class president in 1941. Now at the same time, Helen Fish, my wife Helen, she was salutatorian that year. This is Helen Fish Ettinger in her senior year, 1941. We graduated together and we were going together. This is the graduating class of 1941. First of all, from left to right is Jack Patrone, Gordon Kroll, John Maslin, that's Jay's twin brother, Mike Frederick, which you all remember. Everyone knew Mike Frederick. This is Bob Anderson. He lived down behind Mormon Hill, and he now lives in Utah. He was one of our Mormon students, Mormon friends of mine. This is Tony Sully DeGloma. And this one here is John Patrone. Maesty Patrone, they called him. John Patrone was killed in France in World War II. And starting on this, and over on the end, is Paul Huxley. Now we'll go right back across. This is Squashy Tommy Ciardi, the garbage burner on Merrick Avenue. This one is Renato Ventura. This is Peter Dembrowitz. He doesn't live around. The Dembrowitzes don't live around here anymore. And this was Dottie B. Mint's husband, Bunny. Floyd B. Mint. We call him Bunny Galbraith because he lived with Galbraiths. This was Elmer DeVelder, Frank DeVelder's son. Elmer never did have all of his screws, neither did his father. And this is Merton Page. Tom Page lived down in Coonsville. This was his son, Merton. And this one here is Mario Pronti with the nickname Nigger. I don't think he ever lived it down. Now, coming back to this row, we start with Steve Chunko. Steve Chunko was killed by a buzz bomb in London in World War II. And then is Charlotte Quigley. That's Jim Quigley's wife. Jim Quigley's sister. And then we have Jenny Hill, Virginia Hill. And then we have George Lofi Patrone. Excuse me. George Lofi Patrone. Then comes Honey Mae Kroll. She was Honey Mae Segber's then, Bill Segber's sister. And here is Amelia Bologna. She was Amelia Cripple, Phil Caruso's sister. Phil's name originally was Caruso. Cripple. This is Herbie Warner. He lived on Outlet Road. And this one here is Anna Makoski. She's Anna Sennett now. Now we'll go down to the bottom one. First of all, on the right, we have Dolores Minute, who is now Dolores Perryman, and Mary Angeline, whom you all knew in school. And then came Jake Abbott. Jake just passed on. This picture's hard to hold. That's Jake Abbott. And then Rita Boardman, Rita Viana, Ducky's wife. And then comes myself. And next comes Audrey Gleesman. Then Doug Slip Daly. And Josephine Simontelli.